Hello and welcome to the multimedia presentation on the topic that I've chosen as using cell phones in the classroom. Little background on why I picked this topic. My school, like most, does not permit the use of cell phones in the classroom, but I hear my kids talking all day long about how they could use them to help them in the classroom. This piqued my curiosity, so I wanted to do a little bit of research on this topic, and I hope you enjoy it. These are the required elements, so to speak. And now it's time to meet a special guest. I think that he will be able to explain this presentation a little bit better than I, so please welcome him and little help from our friends on ELO. Hello, welcome to my multimedia video presentation on the e-breakthrough that I've chosen as the use of cell phones in the classroom. I hope you enjoy it. If you have any questions, please let me know. Now, before we can talk about cell phones themselves, I wanted to provide you with working definitions about what we're going to be speaking about today. Mobile technology is an emerging and important part of the educational technology. Mobile technologies include portable and personal handheld devices such as laptops, personal digital assistants, and most of what we're going to discuss, smart and mobile phones. According to Travana and Rocchetti in 2003, a mobile device has been defined as any device that is small, autonomous, and unobtrusive enough to accompany people in their daily life. Now that we have a definition of what we're talking about, let's talk about the history and how we arrived at this point in time. This technology, like most, has evolved rapidly in a short period of time. In the early 90s, the discussion was whether or not to have computers in the classroom, and we've come a long way since then. Most researchers agree that it was a tragic and terrible event that introduced mass usage of cell phones in the classroom. That tragic and terrible event was the mass shootings that took place in Columbine High School in 1999. Before this event, cell phones were almost universally banned in public schools. In 2002, that national ban was lifted, and the advent of cell phones in schools exploded. Now, an important part of any research are the statistics that help support your opinion. This is the data on cell phone usage. According to Units in 2013, 95% of the students reported having a cell phone at school. Gilkis and Grant in 2013 found that 65% of those students surveyed replied that they believe using mobile devices in the classroom is important to their success. These statistics support a strong foundation. If we look at it, we can draw the conclusion that we have a large population that has access to technology, and the majority of that population believes if they use that technology, they will increase their chances of being successful. If you ask me, it seems that using this technology makes sense. I understand, however, even with statistics and data, we have some of those who want more reasons. So I give you more reasons why we should use cell phones in the classroom. Keep in mind, the reasons that I'm going to discuss now are not scientifically supported. The pros of using cell phones in the classroom. Nowadays, the education method is changing, and as educators, we need to change along with that technology. The new generation that we see and that we teach hates reading textbooks. My students will tell me every day that they would rather do anything than sit down and just read a book. And if you think of it, most of their experiences come online now. Cell phones also afford them the opportunity to not have to take notes. Instead, they can take photos of those notes. My students are doing this in the classroom now. Cell phones increase the interest of learning. Think about what the reaction might be if you told your students, today you can use your cell phones in class. The cell phone is convenient, which means that they can learn everywhere. They don't have to just be confined to the classroom. Cell phones give access to outside information very quickly, and perhaps one thing that people overlook is that by using cell phones in the classroom, the school mirrors more so the real society outside of those classroom walls. If you need a little bit more and you need some scientific reasons, I provide some research on the pros of using cell phones in the classroom. Hope in 2009, Ferry in 2009, and Q and Wang in 2008 all stated that students can use browsers to check emails, read materials such as ebooks, and watch lectures from anywhere at any time. So I can post a lecture on my channel, and then I can have those students go home and review that and be ready for the material that we're going to cover in class the next day. Also, mobile phones have a downloading feature which can be used by students and tutors to download various kinds of materials through their mobile phones easily. Teachers can download video through their mobile phones and present them to students through a TV, which is available in most classrooms. Ask me, that's pretty nifty. However, just like anything else, this issue has two sides. And so after considering the pros, I think it's only fair that we look at the cons. Why should we not be using cell phones in the classroom? Again, as before, these first set do not have any scientific statistics to back them up. However, these are the cons of using cell phones in the classroom. Distracting to the class, hard to concentrate. Students use it for texting or entertaining, not education. Some students can use the cell phone to cheat. We have seen this in places like Philadelphia and Atlanta. The students may be taking funny photos of other people, can be used as a tool for bullying or harassment. Texting can harm their grammar skills, and it can lead to disrespect of the teachers. We'll talk about after we present some research-based reasons why not to use the cell phone and some best practices that you can use as a teacher to prevent some of these cons. Here now some research-based reasons to use the cell phone in the classroom. Several factors were identified to limit the usefulness of mobile phones in teaching and learning.
Waiting in line for brunch. You're spending Saturday.
Some teaching staff and students were unaware of the capacity of their mobile phones.
With a 3-year replacement warranty and picked it up in store just 30 minutes.
Some of those who own smartphones just use them for calls and text messages. We saw that earlier, now being backed up with some research. And some of those did not know the type of phones that they owned, and that led to them underutilizing them. Still more research on why not to use cell phones in the classroom. Web 2.0 tools are known to facilitate teaching and learning processes. However, very few, 20% of teaching staff involved in a study were aware of how 2.0 tools facilitate teaching and learning. So this is a case of having the technology, but not the knowledge in how to use that technology. Most mobile phones with internet applications can support Web 2.0 services, despite the fact that very few teaching staff used the services. And a majority, 80% of teaching staff, did not have any Web 2.0 training. This limited them from using social media in teaching and learning. So, again, it goes back to having the technology, but maybe not having the knowledge to effectively use that technology. Quick discussion on how to offset the cons, have very strong behavioral management skills in the classroom, addressing each of those points that we talked about, bullying and harassment, using texting for enjoyment and not entertainment. You can put procedures in place and policies in place that will help address those issues as they arise. And as far as not getting training, easiest thing to do, get your staff trained in how to use the technology that they have. So after both sides of this very complicated issue, then we ask ourselves, what does the future hold for cell phone use in the classrooms? Well, Graham, in 2016, pointed out that there's an application for keeping students on top of their work. It's called Remind 101, and students can sign up to receive a text reminder when they have upcoming assignments. Helps them to organize their assignments, and a very important part that is often overlooked, it can engage the parents as well. Hala, in the same article, recommends polyeverywhere.com to test students' knowledge of their subject material before an upcoming test. Teachers can set up a question or questions based on what the students are currently learning in class, and then provide them with a text number. Students see this question with several potential answers, usually in the A, B, C, D, or E template, and then they text the answer. As the students' answers are compiled, the site creates a graph showing their responses. Kolb said that students want to use their cell phone and technology. Research has found that 97% of students would like a relaxation of the rules of cell phones in schools and classroom. That from the Kolb and project in 2008. Students said that they could use their cell phone for things like poetry analysis and composition, tweeting from a character's point of view to aid character analysis, research, be it short-term and brief only, and photojournalism, both for viewing examples and creating their own photo essays. I thought that this was a very salient point by Sterner in 2015. Remember, everything about the cell phone in your student's pocket is vastly more powerful than the computer used by Neil Armstrong to land on the moon. Take advantage of that power. So as a summary, it seems to me that the technology of using cell phones in the classroom is something that all of the stakeholders are excited to use, excited to learn how to use and pursue. We have access and we can provide knowledge. One main point that seems to be holding back the advent of this technology is that society has labeled the use of cell phones in the classroom as almost taboo. And I can give you a quick example. Of what happened to me when I was a principal at a BOCES classroom. Shortly after the attacks on the World Trade Center and the Pentagon, we were told that using our cell phones during any bomb threats was now going to be illegal, because the frequency of the cell phones could potentially set off any triggers in the explosives. That sent ripples through my staff, because now they were worried that they were going to be unable to contact loved ones, families, friends, etc., if there truly was a situation like that. This has since been disproven as false, but again was one of the major reasons that cell phones were not allowed in schools. I think we can change our mindset on cell phones, and they can become just another important tool that we can put in that educational toolbox and help us use to address all the needs of the students in our classroom. A short video kind of summarizing what we've talked about up to this point in time, taken from a YouTube video in 2011.
Okay, Edna, remember, if you can teach one kid one thing, then today will be a success. Now, class. Class! Class, please pay attention.
Cell phones in schools. Everywhere you look, students are carrying these mobile electronic devices. If they don't have one, they want one. They use them to communicate with friends and parents. Texting is a way of life for this generation. And through this medium, they are communicating with purpose, like never before. Through the internet and mass media, they are creating a shifting paradigm and a challenge for teachers worldwide.
You're children! Why do you all need cell phones?
Safety.
Emergency!
Safety. Educational.
Could you at least set them to vibrate? That's it! Everything in the box. No more gizmos in this class.
Banned. Gizmos, gadgets, toys, or tools. Schools are laying down the law all across the nation and banning cell phones as a policy. Frustrated teachers like Mrs. Krabappel continually confiscate and work to eliminate this technology from their classrooms. For digital natives, the message is that school is no place for cell phones.
Okay, we'll call your bluff. Teach us, using only the knowledge in your own head. Hey.
For real-life teachers, the challenges facing the 21st century learner are no laughing matter. Students are more disengaged and non-receptive to the traditional classroom setting. No longer is it just about pen and paper. They demand to be plugged in and to work in an engaging, collaborative manner. Students want access to information, technology, and of course, their cell phones.
With an estimated 15.5 million teenagers between the ages of 13 and 17 already with their own cell phones, banning their use in school is a lot like an idea they had in another generation. Banning bubble gum. Nice idea. Never really worked.
I think it may be a losing battle. Eugene Sanders runs the Cleveland, Ohio city school system where cell phones are banned. Mr. Sanders, good morning.
Good morning.
You don't intend to lose this battle. In fact, you don't even allow cell phones into school buildings. No cell phones in the buildings. That's it. And that's not going to change in Cleveland?
The Saranac Lake Central School Board agrees. It imposed a district-wide ban on cell phone usage by students during school hours. Principal Bruce Van Wielden says Saranac Lake High School already had a policy in place, but thinks a district policy is better. During school hours, cell phones cannot be used during lunch hour, between classes, or on school buses unless permission is given by a supervisor. Students are allowed to bring their phones to school. They just need to be turned off and put away.
We'd like to see them secured, like in their lockers, out of sight, in backpacks and things like that.
Ban or no ban, kids will find a way, texting under their desks, behind their back, or even in their pocket.
Could be their teacher who's texting them. A lot of school systems ban cell phones for very good reason in classrooms, but some are starting to work them into the curriculum. Orlando Salinas is live in Miami. Orly, most of the time we hear about public schools having a zero-tolerance policy, and most parents want them to have a zero-tolerance policy.
Called Wiregrass High School. Now, this school is only about 3 years old, and I can tell you this school is not afraid of technology. Now, what happens here is the students at this school, they're allowed to bring their cell phones. They have to register their cell phones at the school, and the teacher in each classroom has a phone list. For example, the teacher in some cases will send out a text to the phones of the students in her classroom. They have to answer by text. In this case, while we were there, text, pictures. The bottom line is you have to have an answer. You go ahead and text that answer in, you push send, and the teacher gets that answer back. Now, the teachers also have blogs. They're putting their entire lesson plans on the internet, and these students with their cell phones, these little mini computers, Martha, they can go ahead and access all that information if they have this special code. They do everything by phone. But when they go back into that classroom and the teacher says, turn it off, that is the bottom line. That is the bottom line. That is the bottom line. And the teacher says, turn it off, that is the bottom line. If they're caught doing something with those phones that they're not supposed to, and the principal told me it has been minuscule, the number of students who have been caught doing something they shouldn't be, if they do get caught, there's a warning. If it happens a second time, they'll take the phone away. Look, this school uses a lot of its own good common sense. God gave them brains. They're using them. They're not afraid of this technology at all, Martha.
Needle scratch.
That's right. It may seem like the Florida-based school is going against the grain, but they aren't the only ones. Schools in Maryland, Texas, Colorado, and Michigan, and all over the country are beginning to turn these toys into tools for learning.
Well, I thank you for your attention. I hope that you have a good day.
Yes, I ain't got nobody here, people. Yeah, but me and my telephone. Nobody talk to me and keep me company. When my baby, she was here with me, my telephone